our show. So come on in and take a seat. Warrior class, we got the keys. Dun, 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 dun. To get you where you need to be, just study our show. And you're gonna grow like crazy. Watching you will see. Dun, 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 dun. Warrior class, we got the keys, just watch our show, 'cause it's for you and your babies.
Welcome to Warrior Class.
Where the teacher ass.
And you will too, if you pass. All right. This is the Surviving the Purge episode 2025. We've done an episode on Surviving the Purge before on another platform, but this is the first time here on Black Power Media. So we're going to get into it. But first, we're going to bring you any news. You have any news for us, Omaniki?
I do. There was an article. I think it's maybe a couple weeks old. I'm pulling it up now, but it's basically about. Let's see. The headline is Border Patrol commander admitted he lied about tear gas incident. Judge says. Basically, what happened from what I remember in the article was that, as happens so often, there was a crowd that was protesting. They were protesting peacefully without incident, and the Border Patrol, a group of them, basically tried to escalate the situation. They ended up tear gassing the crowd. But when asked about it later, the leader of that group said that someone threw a rock at him, which still does not justify tear gassing the crowd. But this was his justification for doing so. And they later on found out in court through video evidence that he did not get hit with a rock until after they tear gassed the crowd. So the crowd wasn't doing anything at first, but then of course once they tear gassed them, they got upset. They reacted. So this is just an article that I read about that. It's just, like I said, something that we see so often is that they pretend that they were provoked and move forward with trying to dehumanize and violate us. Us being whoever you might imagine. And later on, the evidence shows that nothing happened to them, that they were just trying to incite violence.
Oh, Aket Kabas Ankh Black Power.
Black Power.
All right, you got any other news for us?
None that I can remember right now. Maybe I'll go back to something like we did last week.
All right. Well, we're going to get into it. Surviving the Purge 2025. The state of continuing and fighting to live in spite of difficulties and obstacles defines survival. People who are willing to survive and overcome obstacles are not afraid to do what it takes in order to live.
Yeah, well.
In the Purge franchise, that includes 5 films: The Purge, The Purge Anarchy, The Purge Election Year, The First Purge, and The Forever Purge, and a television series, which is now canceled, but the U.S. government created creates a 12-hour period in which all criminal activity is legal, including rape and murder, in order to reduce the population and make life better for the rich. In the first film, The Purge, James Sandin and his family are faced with a gang of masked, heavily armed intruders trying to break in their home and murder them all. Despite their lack of ability and skill to survive and overcome the murderers, they all were willing to defend and protect each other from the corruption of the others. We're going to fight, Sandin says, showing that despite having no training, he is ready for what is to come. Not knowing a thing about how to fight, the Sandins were able to survive the purge and make it through the night. So this episode is for the Sandins out there. Folks who suddenly wake up one morning and realize they have to be their own security force. People who bought guns and ammo for self-defense but have no clue about tactical stuff. People with some tactical training and experience but haven't thought about how to secure their family or their neighborhood during civil unrest. Or the single mother who is living with a sick or very aged parent, a toddler, and a newborn. Very little who live in an apartment in the bustling city, a city of more untrained, unprepared, starving, stressed out, and often simple people.
Baba, you cut for a second, so maybe they can let us know in the chat if that was just my connection to you or if they actually.
I noticed that the whole screen went black for some reason.
Okay, so okay. First, let's familiarize you with a few terms. You may have heard some of these, maybe not. But during civil unrest, which is exactly what the purge is, all of these are taking place. 1, SHTF, which stands for shit hits the fan. This is any emergency event that deviates from our normal condition of so-called civil order beyond a limited disaster and implies a partial or total collapse of law and order. WROL, without the rule of law. This is a situation where the only laws are kill or be killed and only the fittest survive. This situation essentially, situation is essentially lawless and resembles war more than a disaster. The police will be some of the most dangerous criminals out there during a WROL situation, so don't expect to call them for help. Grid down. A disaster or a situation where nationally, or at least across your region, the utility and communication systems collapse totally, along with the supply chain. There is no electricity, water, internet, phone signal, Wi-Fi, nor distribution of groceries, fuel, or other essentials. You must be self-sufficient to survive.
The purge is government caused and sanctioned civil arrest. While The Purge is a fictional movie, civil unrest is very real. Here are the 4 types. Unpeaceful protests. Small-scale acts of vandalism and violence often done in retaliation, reaction, revenge, or to further antagonize. These events are characterized by yelling, chanting, trespassing across lawns and driveways, and banging on doors and windows. Sporadic vandalism occurs. Protesters typically move through the area once they feel they have made their point. The criminal violations are minor: obstructing traffic, jaywalking perhaps, trespassing, and usually misdemeanor vandalism. Incidents of explosive, arson, or major vandalism are mostly isolated incidents, often perpetrated by the armed agents of the state. You should carry tools at all times during an unpeaceful protest, along with discrete tactical gear. If there is sufficient advance warning, such as social media posts before the event or word that a crowd is moving towards the neighborhood, window covers can be installed. This shouldn't take more than a few minutes to cover large front windows with plywood, tables, or other tough materials. Vehicles should be moved off the street and into a garage if possible, or behind the house or in the driveway at a minimum. All doors, windows, and gates should be locked and barred. All windows should have their blinds, drapes, or curtains closed. No interior light should be visible from outside the house, but exterior lighting should be turned on. Fire extinguishers and other response equipment should be taken from storage and ready in case things escalate. Bug out bags should be ready to go. Moving non-combatants to a safe part of the house. Move non-combatants to a safe part of the house, like children, the elderly, especially elderly who aren't mobile, stuff like that, or young folks who aren't mobile. Turn on TV, video, or music to distract children or scared household members. If you have gas masks, get those out in the event police deploy tear gas. Do not engage the crowd unless for no taunting. Now, that's my daughter. Excuse me. Now, at our other house, we had an incident, and I failed as far as don't taunt because the Caucasians were marching through the neighborhood. I did taunt them because I stood in the driveway with a rifle, and I was like, y'all can come in here. I'll send you to hell. So really, I should have just stayed quiet, kept watchful, but I had to step out there.
I think the main thing is you have training.
And that too, yeah.
Right. There's other people who have no training that have that same.
Yeah, exactly. Do not engage the crowd unless absolutely necessary. No political back and forth, no taunting. With all windows closed and lights off, avoid even being seen by the crowd. Do not give them an audience. Remain inside. Turn on the sprinklers in the yard to take advantage of people not wanting to get wet to force them away from that part of the house. This is not a situation to use force unless the mob escalates into one. Lie low, let them pass. Okay. And I didn't think they were going to just pass. It was a Nazi group, Nazi and Klan, and I'm like, why are they in this neighborhood? I live in an all-black neighborhood in the other house, right?
Yeah, bro.
So I'm like, why are they marching through the damn neighborhood? But they did just keep going. If a window is broken, monitor the room for anyone attempting entry or throwing an incendiary device. Handle such an escalation appropriately. If you are able, barricade the broken window and secure the room from the rest of the house.
All right. Another type is violent unrest. This is also known as a riot. Generally, in riots, businesses are the targets for arson, theft, vandalism, and looting. Physical violence is usually contained to the areas of unrest and usually between participants in the riots or those unlucky enough to be caught in them. Violence by gangs or mobs is common. Residential areas are left relatively unaffected, although racially or politically motivated riots could affect residential neighborhoods. Violence can be specifically targeted against political opponents, other races, other classes, etc. As violence spirals out of control, the atmosphere is used as a license to burn, loot, rob, beat, destroy, and so on, often with little retaliation to the initiating of, often with little relation to the initiating event. Those riots usually continue for several days until the National Guard or weather changes cause them to fizzle out. Monitor the extent and spread of the riots in case the situation intensifies or expands. Maintain a heightened level of awareness, and if you do not regularly carry a tool, do so. If you work in affected areas, modify your work routine or work from home if possible. Do not go to work in areas with active riots. If the riots are in your part of the city or in your neighborhood, take more extensive measures to control access to the neighborhood. Start talking to your neighbors, if you haven't already done so, by creating a mutual assistance group to watch the neighborhood. If there is interest, make it happen. Harden the front of your home at this time and other weak areas. This is the time to accept inconveniences like boarding up front windows. Monitor the streets, go out front and look around, and take short walks or drives around your immediate area to get an idea of what is going on. Have someone at home always awake and monitoring news, scanners, and outside. Ideally, this is a family member. However, a trusted neighbor who can alert everyone is ideal. Move street barricades into place, but do not close the street until danger is imminent. You may inadvertently block neighbors who are trying to get home to safety. If you are not carrying your tools or wearing tactical gear, keep them on hand at all times. If you are outside, wear a helmet and eye protection if possible, and use weapon retention devices like a sling for a rifle. Barricade the streets as the rioters approach and mount your guard. Depending on the exact nature of the mob, you may not erect barricades and may choose to simply maintain a visible presence while armed to serve as a soft deterrent if more disruptive and or aggressive measures are not called for. Do not engage the crowd unless absolutely necessary. No political back and forth, no taunting. Stand well back from the barricade and crowd if possible to avoid the appearance you are trying to go toe-to-toe with them, which may encourage them to stop and heckle. Challenge rioters or strangers who are attempting to enter your neighborhood or street. Refrain from using force except in direct attack on you or someone else. This includes aiming weapons at anyone. Perhaps have someone video record the mob as it passes so they know they are being filmed and seen. Should your barricade be breached, tactically withdraw to a second perimeter if possible, or back to your home. The crowd may have forced its way down the street, but as the street is technically public property, the law and order is still intact. Do not try to actively stop them from coming down. Do not use force against a crowd that is not a threat to life. You should be threatened with violence or objects. If you should be threatened with violence or objects being thrown, go inside and lock down. Be alert for persons trying to infiltrate your property at unobserved locations. If rioters attempt to kill or seriously wound someone, respond appropriately to the person presenting the threat. If you are violently overrun, use non-lethal tactics to disperse the crowd and or create some space for you and your team to retreat into a home. Otherwise, only ever use force against specific persons when justified, not generally against the crowd. The point about well, they're all great points, but the point about let's see, it said to not engage the crowd absolutely unless absolutely necessary, and to stand back from the barricade to avoid to appear to be going toe to toe with them is valuable because we need to be thinking about our body language in these types of situations. So, yeah.
And there's short-term near WROL. Okay. This is a widespread loss of civil order. What happened after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans is an example. Law and order totally collapsed. Police, firefighters, and EMTs deserted the city, and government was rendered impotent. For weeks, citizens were on their own in a city filled with desperate predators. This was the purge in real time, in real life. During a short-term near WROL, and that's without rule of law, certain harsh measurements will have to be taken. These events could be the beginning stages of a total collapse depending on what is happening nationally. The area of the event is widespread across a major metropolitan area, a region, multiple states, or even the entire nation. There is usually a failure of the supply chain. Stores are closed or empty, and utilities may be interrupted. Duration of the event is from several weeks to months before law and order, utilities, and municipal governance are restored. Life may never return to normal, though. You must protect yourself and your loved ones from attack and theft, as well as serve as your own deterrent to crime. Law enforcement may be actively hostile and committing crimes themselves, so don't go running to the police if you see them. Militias may disguise themselves as National Guards, so be wary of any strangers, no matter their uniform or demeanor. Expect greater threats, more aggressive criminals, and people who wouldn't ordinarily break the law to commit crimes. The personal safety, and that includes some of your neighbors. The personal safety threat shifts from large rioting mobs or hyper-specific incidents against individuals or their homes or businesses to pervasive and random attacks, usually of opportunity or on soft targets. Burglaries, home invasions, robberies, carjacking, looting, theft, and assaults occur at a higher rate than before. Patrol your block or neighborhood and be alert for surreptitious or aggressive burglaries and home invasions. Typical disaster and long-term emergency supplies and preparations are needed. This is where being a prepper is a huge advantage. And, well, it was a natural disaster, really. So-called
Right.
COVID-19. My group was ready. You know, we all were ready to survive, and we did survive. Whereas some people I know were buying 50 rolls of tissue and all kinds of shit. Have a sufficient store of food, water, and necessities for at least 3 months. If you are unable to do so, buy as much as you can. Have redundant means of communication, radios, hand signals, bird calls, etc., and a way to generate your own electricity like a generator or solar panel system. Once again, if you can afford it. But you can have redundant communication. You can afford radios probably, and you definitely can afford hand signals if you got hands. Okay, so Be mentally prepared to survive on your own without government help for a long time. Evacuate to a safer location if possible. Activate your neighborhood mutual defense group if you have created one already, or at least coordinate defensive security with anyone who is not evacuating. Make sure all neighbors have a way to call each other for help. Someone, preferably two people, needs to be on security watch at all times, including patrolling the immediate area to keep an eye out for people who may be sneaking in to do bad things. Barricade your street, but be mindful that neighbors may still need to come and go. Consider a night-only total closure of the street to vehicle traffic. Remember when boarding up windows that you may need daylight or ventilation if utilities are absent or marginal. Carry tools at all times. Rifles and handguns should at least be at hand if you have them. But carry tools, if not a rifle or handgun, some kind of tool at all times. Wear tactical gear at least when you are on patrol, if not all the time. As far as possible, keep your home secured. Burglaries are common when windows are left open in warm weather, for example. Make your home look like an unappealing target rather than a high-tech, hard target, like you have something to protect. Think crappy salvage boards over the windows versus some sort of purchased high-tech defense. Let your landscape go unkempt. Take serious precautions to conceal any supplies that you have. Do not let anyone, even a neighbor, know you are riding out the storm comfortably. And that's what we do. We keep our lawn and stuff manicured for now, but during near WROL, we will let it go. We have to let it go, really, because there won't be nobody to mow the lawns anyway. Challenge intruders.
Oh, you're at criminals may target you for robbery. It was right before that.
Okay. Take serious precautions to conceal any supplies that you have. Do not let anyone, even a neighbor, know you are riding out the storm comfortably. Criminals may target you for robbery, and even a friend, when desperate, could turn against you. An example of this is generator thefts in the South after a hurricane. And that's your neighbors, more than likely.
Right.
Challenge intruders. If they claim to live in the neighborhood, make them identify themselves to your satisfaction. If they cannot prove they belong there, send them on their way. Consider having someone snap a photo of them for later identification if necessary. If you must get physical with someone to encourage them to leave, physically restrain them and walk them out of the area. For persons engaging in criminal activity who refuse to leave, if you are able to apprehend them, use handcuffs or zip ties, then drive them far away and drop them off. Most persons looking to assault or steal will be deterred by a neighbor's presence, especially by an armed neighbor. However, be prepared for a desperate or deranged person who escalates the situation to violence. This is where pepper spray, sharp tools, impact tools, or firearms are handy.
Yeah, absolutely. I have noticed, and a friend of mine actually reached out to me, kind of jokingly telling me how he was in a grocery store and he saw somebody just like walk out with, their cart full of groceries, which, I mean, can happen at any time. But over the last few weeks, of course, there has been more people feeling more justified in doing those sorts of things. And I was just at the gas station, and this dude right next to me like made a cup of coffee and then just walked out the side door. And I was like, I don't think he paid, like when you think about it though, and I caution my friend, like if you see things like that going on around you, then that's time for you to be more cautious of what you're doing, because there's only one step or maybe two steps to that kind of person, or maybe another person who's more desperate to take from you. You know, if you're not being diligent, you know, and you're not watching what's going on around you, like you, if they detect weakness in you, then you could be a target as well. So it's not time to joke. We see things like on social media how they talk about how, you know, uh none of the things that are going on around us have anything to do with black people, though, you know, some of the more recent stuff definitely affects a lot of people who look like us. But you know, just think about if you're in a house, even if you hate the house, if you're being held captive inside of a house, and you and the house starts burning down, yeah, you hate the people who own the house, but you don't want to get caught up. You know, I mean, you're still in the house. You got to get out. You got to secure yourself. You can't be cheering because the house is burning down. You have to get yourself to safety. You know, so it's just something that I've seen recently.
I mean,
The
when
attitude that I've seen out there.
you know, when the George Floyd uh, murder happened, there was a protest. My wife, my daughter Yemi, who's 16 now, but she was what 12 then or whatever. Um, so the three of us, my wife, Yemi, and myself, we went out to eat. And as we're eating, I'm noticing crowds of people walking by the window where we're eating at. A crowd, like crowds after crowd after crowd after crowd after crowd. And I said, dear, we better get out of here. And some people who were listening to us, you know, as people do in the restaurants, they said, something happening? And I told the waiter, you know, give us our check, you know. And I said, yeah, there's something happening outside, you know. So we gotta, you know, we're leaving. And people are like, hey, can I go with you too? Can I leave? I'm like, sure, we can all leave, you know, and including some of the workers.
Right.
We're leaving out, and I said, okay, we you know, we go out this door here, and they went out that door. Me and my wife went out another door and got in our car and broke out. And it took a while to really find where we could exit out of there. And then as soon as we got far enough away, we looked down where the rioters were gathered, and it was something like 1,000 police had surrounded them and well, made them leave, I guess. I don't know, because we didn't stay to find out what was going on.
Right.
But that, or maybe those cops were, I know they weren't protesting, but I don't know what that was. But we got out of there immediately, you know,
Yeah.
because it's not safe.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, and the last one is long-term WROL, which is anarchy. Um, this is a reversion to a world in which the only rule is survival of the fittest. This would most likely be caused by a civil war or a full-scale economic collapse. Be prepared for extreme circumstances that will lead you to do things you ordinarily wouldn't in order to survive. You and your family will eat while the kids next door starve to death after you've killed their father for stealing vegetables from your garden. How best to survive this waking nightmare, which is marked by total disorganization and disintegration of the normal social order caused by disaster or war. Ordinary commercial, private, and government services are out of business. Utilities, transportation, and communications have been interrupted. Day-to-day life is a survival situation where the final outcome has a high probability of death. The situation is at least regional, with very limited chances of escape. Local intervention is not possible. The National Guard isn't coming to save you. In fact, no one is coming to save you. Morality will go out the window for many people, and horrific things will be done, such as selling children for food, the reinstatement of chattel slavery, and cannibalism. Killing will be among the first answers to interpersonal difficulties and criminality. Predators will exploit the situation for their gain or to satisfy their perversions. Obtaining water, food, and medical care will be impossible, very expensive, or extremely difficult. Power will be exercised by force, and people will pledge support to whoever can take over and provide safety, supplies, or just won't hurt them. Stockpile years worth of food and supplies, identify alternate sources of water, and have various means of collecting and purifying water. Invest in serious firearms and tactical training. Make permanent modifications to your home, such as barring or boarding up windows and adding bulletproof materials. Consolidate all relatives into a single home or adjacent homes. The more eyes and ears looking out, the better. Create a defensive team from reliable and well-prepared neighbors. If you have a mutual assistance group in other parts of town, consider moving into the same neighborhood, even if this means taking over abandoned homes. Barricade the street and restrict all entry to those who live there and only their, and restrict all entry to those who live there and only their verified guests. Use force to keep anyone else out. No one else has business on your street and could be a spy, thief, or saboteur. Never leave children, the sick, disabled, or elderly persons alone. Make your neighborhood look unappealing with poor landscaping and poor superficial maintenance. Do not look like you have anything worth stealing. Look like ragtag survivors, not people who have planned for this. Understand that you may need to do things that violate your innate sense of charity and fair play, but don't be evil. Don't commit or allow atrocities and punish whoever commits them. Deploy your armed neighborhood watch around the clock. Make sure that anyone watching you sees that you are on the lookout for them. If someone is threatening you and demanding goods or services, do not give in, no matter what. Politely refuse demands from interlopers or refugees who want goods or services. The same goes for persons in authority if authority is meaningless. Do not give in or admit strangers. Have the people and arms to back up your refusal.
Being a lone wolf only works in movies. Your neighborhood, or at least your family and a couple of other like-minded families, will have to act as a team to survive. Lone wolves usually die alone in the forest. You alone by yourself or even with your typical 4-person household won't last. You can't be alert all the time. Having a team allows everyone to get some rest, relax, and attend to chores. If you are alone, there will be no one to help you if you are sick or injured. Can your spouse handle foraging for food, the chores, tending to your wounds, all while keeping watch and running off bad guys? Is your teenager physically able to drag you to medical care? A family alone will have a bad time. A group like a family gives you a mutual drive to protect and survive. So it should be multiple families, not just your one family. Each member of a group draws strength from one another and helps share the physical and mental burden of survival. Neighbors are united by their homes, and each has their family and their property to protect, which can create a sense of teamwork and purpose where there may not have been one before. All right, dear. We have USPI, the Urban Survival Preparedness Institute, and I train everybody with. We do these camps. Well, I train anyway with ongoing training, but we do these camps where we test ourselves to see if we'll survive disaster. Yeah, right. And everybody does pretty well. Everybody joins in and helps each other. So it's pretty good. Group creation. For those who intentionally want to create a mutual defense group, finding persons with the desired requisite skills and discretion to participate within your own neighborhood will be difficult. Let's be honest. Few of us know our neighbors. Knocking on doors, introducing yourself to random strangers, and bringing up the topics in this episode, even in the most vague, diplomatic way possible, is a non-starter. It will get you pegged as a weirdo or potentially some sort of domestic terrorist if you talk to the wrong person. Very few people will have any interest in or concept of teaming up to survive. The most likely scenario is that no one will participate or team up until all falls down. When people are scared and looking to defend, they will start asking questions of each other, what to do. This is your moment to act and organize. Forming a defensive group will not seem strange when danger is at the door and everyone is looking for a solution.
I would say
what we did, we were like-minded folks. Many of the people in USPI were my martial arts students anyway. So it was easy for me to say, hey, this is also what we're going to do for anybody interested. Now, I have a student, and he's been with me the longest of all the students. and he was like, we're not, me and my family, we're just surviving our own. Now, he knows where both my houses are at. So I said, look, man, you know where both my houses are. And his wife may be listening to this episode now. I said, don't put your family in a situation where I have to, if you show up because your family's starving or whatnot, don't show up unannounced, untrained, got nothing to offer, because I can't just turn you away. And that's all I'll say, right? It was like if any of y'all have watched the Boondocks, when in the episode of Chicken Flu, and they wouldn't let Ruckus in their home. Ruckus got a bunch of crackers together with him, and they decided they're going to take the Freeman home. That kind of thing can happen to you.
Definitely.
Now his wife approached me and said, "Hey, we want to." After he had bought 50 rolls of tissue and called me proudly, I said, "What the fuck did you do that for?" Because him, like other people, were panicking. After that, then she came to me and said, "Hey, you know, I want us to be a part of USPI." I said, "Well, ultimately, it's up to your husband." Haven't heard. I mean, I've heard from him. I mean, he's gone to Africa. He's made his priesthood, but hasn't bought no survival supplies. So if we get another situation, even like COVID, but another violent situation, oh man. You know, he has a certain firearm and hasn't gotten any bullets for it in years. So it's just a paperweight. We got to get serious about our survival.
Yeah, well, the last part when it talks about, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bob.
This person said, "I am white and I am saying," yeah. So here on Warrior Class, we always end with "Stay black" or whatever it is that you may be. So our message is to everybody, but specifically to black folks. But it's for everybody, because and like here we have white neighbors. In fact, on the block of our other house, we got white neighbors, and during COVID, well, it was a white and Asian couple, a white dude, Asian woman. They came to the house and they said, "Hey, can we borrow some water?" You know, because our water's out or something. So I said, "Okay, bring a bucket down," and I sprayed water in the bucket, and they left. And my son's looking like, "What? What? Dad did that?" I said, "Son, during a disaster, we have to help those who live around us, no matter what their race is, color, what their belief is. You know, I'm an Ifa priest, African tradition. But I know, goddamn, I live mostly around Christians. But it's a Wiccan family, a few doors down. It's, you know, it's if you want to survive and if you have your survival equipment, I don't care what your belief is. We just gonna survive together. Now, I'll say that, but I'll say this. If you are a Caucasian, I'm not letting you in my house to be around my children. Now, most of my children and my siblings, they live in another state. But most of them, yeah, another state. But they know they can always, if they can travel and get here, they can get here. and they'll survive. But those in our group, USPI, they always know all they got to do is make it to my house. Now, this house, it'd be difficult for them to make it out here. But the 492 house is centralized and they can make it. As long as they can make it, then we can survive. All right.
I was going to say the last part when it talks about bringing this up to your neighbors and how that's a non-starter. That can even be with family, or it can especially be with family.
Yes.
You know, you even with the things that we see happening with us all around us now, and how one day to another can have some very dramatic shifts. You know, still coming to family and saying, hey, let's put a plan together. We need to do this and this and that. I think it makes them feel, people are so, I think, low key kind of scared of what's happening, that it's like they just don't, it's the cognitive dissonance thing. They don't want to imagine anything going further, anything sliding to a certain point. So acknowledging that and making a plan for it, you know, is just making it worse. So it can be difficult to, as we said, to bring this up to family.
Yeah.
And neighbors.
Now, somebody said, isn't that racism against Caucasians? When I said Caucasians can come up, I mean, shit, Caucasians, Black, Asians, nobody who's not a family member or in USPI, which I consider that them family, they can't just come into my house. Now, I'll train your home. I'll train you to survive. If my neighbors and stuff, they can't just come in here, no matter what their race is, unless they are part of my organization. It ain't just my organization. I'm one of the co-chairs. Our organization, you got to be part of that or part of my family. And shit, yeah, it's certain members of the family who, now my immediate family, no, I don't have a problem with my immediate family, and my immediate extended family, meaning my mother, my sisters, brother-in-law, my nephews, they'll be good. Shit, if I could travel to California, shit, I move with my sister and her husband, because they live in a mansion. So, you know, every night, and we would just, I would train them how to lock it down properly, you know. But now we're going there for my brother-in-law's birthday. So we'll be out there, but I hope nothing happens while we're out there. But, you know, I'll be ready in case it does.
Yeah, wow.
Just get yourselves ready. Wherever you live, whatever your religion is, your business is, your race, whatever. If you look at somebody and say, he's a bum, he doesn't deserve no help, you're a bum. You're the real bum. So I don't think that way. I just think, and when I said Caucasians, you can't come to my house, it's really just strangers. But if
Can I say something about that, Baba? Just real briefly. I would say if you're Caucasian and you're on the Black Power media, platform, I would be shocked for you not to understand why any Black person would say that they would not, like, what are you doing here? I don't understand. There's no
that's true.
way that you don't understand, even if that's not how you feel, even if you don't think it's right. There's no way that you don't understand why.
That's true.
There's
That's
no
true.
way.
If they're on this platform, they got to understand. They got to understand why, or they're willfully
Or you're
ignorant.
trolling.
Right. Let me see. We're on their radar, and I love it. Trolls are in the house. I'm in Cali. I gotta look back at what you're talking about. A troll in here, but yes, it's like
The same thing. The person talking about, isn't that reverse racism, and someone else,
Oh,
saying that they need help. We help. This show is helping you. Go back and look into the archives and get your help from there. But there, we have provided help.
And that includes the whoever they are, strangers or whoever, whatever you are. If you're an armed agent of the state, whatever you are, you can learn from these videos.
Yeah, Bo.
If I had a cousin that was FBI, he couldn't come in here. He couldn't come in my house because guarantee you he would be trying to exude his dominance. I'm so and so, man.
And just looking to see what you have, looking to see how your setup is.
That too, so no.
Looking for weaknesses, all of that.
Yeah. So, yes, I stand by what I said. I said what I said.
Yeah.
But like I said, you can pay me. I'll come in and train you right now, or on how to harden your house, survive, all of that.
What supplies to buy?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, he got the info. Yeah, Bo.
So, all right, y'all. You got. Let me see. You got anything? Any questions? Anything in there, or you on me, Nikki?
There is one person. I think this might be a trolling question also that I hesitate to bring it up, but they say, hey, is it possible that you can help me recover from trauma caused by specifically Black people? I would say
I saw that.
Yeah, that sounds like a question for a counselor. If you're looking for assistance with trauma, that's not what this show is about.
Right.
No, that sounds like
I can teach you to cause trauma.
Right.
I can teach you to cause trauma, especially physical trauma on somebody. But to heal from trauma, especially, our person that deals with health isn't. He's at work right now, so he's not on here for a couple episodes. But we don't really deal with deep set trauma, and we all have deep seated trauma from something. We all got it from something.
If you want to,
I'm trying to think of what my trauma is. Lately, my trauma is, yesterday, my 2-year-old, she said, "Ow, ow!" I'm like, "What's wrong with you?" She said, "My nose." She had shoved a cowrie shell up her nose, up her nostril. I said, "What the hell?" So I'm trying to pick it out. It's not coming out. She's crying. So I went and got some olive oil, put it on a Q-tip that I pulled the cotton off. So I just have a wooden stick. I rolled that in olive oil, rolled it around her neck. I mean her nostril, and then I'm picking it out, and I got it sideways in there, and then I started just pulling at it until I got it out of her nose. I had called my wife, and she was at her shop. She didn't answer until she called back later. When I went to go get the olive oil, my daughter said, somebody called on the phone. And I looked, it was my wife, but I said, okay, I'll call her back. And I worked at it, and then I finally got it out. Because I was calling her to say, hey, you need to leave the shop. We got to take this girl to the hospital, and they got to dig this shit out of her nose. And then I said, I'll try to dig it out of her nose because, one, we weren't going to take her to the nearest hospital. Well, yeah, we could have taken her to the nearest hospital to us is Piedmont, Fayetteville. We could have taken her there. But we would not take her to another hospital that will not be named. The hospital that I sat for 6 hours having a heart attack, and they didn't do nothing until after I had already had the heart attack. And they said, oh, looks like you had a heart attack, motherfucker. So we weren't going to take her there anyway. But that is the most traumatic thing that I've dealt with. And it's because of, I think, my training and my survival tactics.
Yeah, boy.
But I believe that everybody has some type of trauma that they have to deal with. Right.
And in order to survive, you have to find a willingness to push past that.
Right.
If you're not willing to push
past it. If you're a Black person who said that, most people who cause trauma are of your same race. If you're Black, white, whatever, it's of your same race. It's people who live who live in proximity to you. So, like when white folks love saying, Blacks kill more Blacks than white people. Not historically, but yeah, now. But whites kill more whites historically and now. Asians kill more Asians.
That's just the numbers. Yeah.
Right. You live around who you look like usually.
Right.
And that's why that happens. Okay.
Yeah, bum.
All right. So we're going to close out. I want you all to be safe in your homes. Be safe out in the street. Lock down your neighborhoods if you have to.
Yeah, bro.
Stay
keep
Black.
Your head on a swivel.
Yeah, always keep your head on a swivel.
Always.
Stay Black or whatever it is that you may be. Peace.
Peace. Peace to the family.
All right.
And shout out to all our folks. I Manifesto, Emmanuel Briggs. I don't think we shouted everyone out, but Lovely Lady. Let's see. I don't see Brittany this week.
We're gonna see Brittany in class.
Yeah.
So, all right, y'all.
All right. Love y'all.